Hyunwoo Kim stood in the middle of the giant metal room. The walls around him were so tall that he could not see the top. Strange blue lights moved across the ceiling like living things. The air smelled like burnt metal and something sweet that made his nose itch. He had been to this place many times before, but today felt different. Today felt dangerous. The Galactic Council Station Omega-7 was the biggest thing humans had ever seen in space. It was so large that Earth's moon could fit inside it 10 times. Millions of alien beings lived and worked here. They came from hundreds of different worlds across the galaxy. Most of them had never seen a human before. Hyunwoo started coming here 5 years ago. Hyunwoo wore his best black suit. His tie was straight and his shoes were clean. He wanted to look good for Earth today. But inside his chest, his heart was beating fast. He knew why they had called him here. The message had been short and cold. "Come now. Final meeting. Bring no weapons. Come alone." Around the room, the alien council members sat in their special chairs. Each chair was made for a different type of body. Some aliens were tall and thin like sticks. Others were short and round like balls. A few looked almost like humans, but their skin was the wrong color, or they had too many eyes. The leader of the council was High Arbiter Velthari. She was from the Nexari Empire. Her people looked like giant bugs that walked on 2 legs. Her skin was dark green and shiny like wet leaves. 4 arms came out of her body. 2 eyes sat on the sides of her head like a lizard. When she talked, her voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Velthari stood up from her chair. The room became quiet. All the other aliens stopped talking and looked at her. Then they looked at Hyunwoo. He could feel their eyes on him, like cold rain. "Human ambassador," Velthari said. Her voice filled the huge room. "You have been called here to receive the final decision of the Galactic Council." Hyunwoo nodded his head. "I am listening, High Arbiter. For 50 years, your species has been part of our galactic community. We welcomed you. We taught you. We shared our knowledge with you. We believed you could learn to be civilized like us." The other aliens made sounds of agreement. Some clicked their teeth. Others hummed low songs. A few tapped their feet or claws on the floor. "But your people have shown us that they cannot be trusted," Velthari continued. "Humans are too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed freedom in the galaxy." Hyunwoo felt his hands make fists, but he kept them at his sides. He had heard these words before. The aliens always talked about how dangerous humans were. They pointed to Earth's history of wars. They talked about human emotions like they were a disease. "We have seen your movies," said another council member. This one looked like a tree with eyes. "Your entertainment shows violence and death. Your people enjoy watching others suffer." "Your sports are fights," added a third alien. This one was covered in blue fur and had 6 legs. "You compete to hurt each other. You celebrate the strongest and forget the weak." "Your food comes from killing other living things," said a fourth. "You eat the flesh of animals. This shows your savage nature." Hyunwoo wanted to speak, but Velthari held up one of her 4 hands. "We have made our decision," she said. "Humanity will surrender all military ships and weapons to the Galactic Council within 72 standard hours. Your people will be placed under protective custody. You will live in special areas that we will choose for you. We will take care of you like children, until you can learn to be peaceful." The room was so quiet that Hyunwoo could hear his own breathing. Protective custody. That was just a nice way of saying prison. They wanted to lock up all of humanity, because they were afraid. "You will no longer be allowed to travel freely between worlds," Velthari went on. "You will not be allowed to have weapons or military ships. You will not be allowed to make your own decisions about war and peace. The Galactic Council will decide what is best for you." "And if we refuse?" Hyunwoo asked. His voice was calm, but inside he was angry. Velthari's eyes glowed brighter. "Then we will take these things by force. We have 7,000 ships waiting near your solar system. Your 20 Earth Defense Force ships cannot fight us. Your weapons are too weak. Your technology is too simple. You will surrender, or you will be destroyed." More sounds of agreement came from the other aliens. They thought this was justice. They thought they were saving the galaxy from the dangerous humans. Hyunwoo looked around the room. He saw hundreds of alien faces looking back at him. Some looked sad, like they felt sorry for him. Others looked angry, like they wanted to hurt him. Most just looked bored, like this meeting was not important to them. Far above him, on the ceiling, he could see screens showing space outside the station. Thousands of alien ships floated in the darkness. Their hulls were smooth and white like eggs. Energy weapons glowed blue and green along their sides. Each ship was bigger than anything Earth had ever built. Behind the aliens' ships, Hyun-woo could see something else. It was small and gray and looked very old compared to the alien vessels. It was Captain So-jin Park's ship, the Soul's Pride. It was the only Earth ship allowed near the station today. Hyun-woo knew that So-jin was watching this meeting through a video link. "You have our evidence," Velthari said. She waved one hand, and a big screen appeared in the air above them. "Your people have been planning to attack us." The screen showed pictures and videos. There were humans in military uniforms talking about weapons. There were images of Earth's factories making ships and guns. There were recordings of human voices talking about fighting aliens. But Hyun-woo knew these were lies. The aliens had made fake evidence to justify what they wanted to do. They had decided to imprison humanity long before this meeting. They were just looking for an excuse. "Your response, Ambassador?" Velthari asked. Hyun-woo took a deep breath. He thought about Earth. He thought about the billions of humans living their lives, working their jobs, raising their children. They had no idea that in 72 hours, their freedom might be gone forever. He thought about Captain So-jin Park, floating in space nearby in her small ship. She was a good soldier and a good friend. She had fought in 3 wars to protect Earth. Now she could only watch as aliens decided the fate of her species. He thought about Dr. Mi-young Lee back on Earth. She was the smartest person he knew. For years, she had been studying the aliens who came to Earth. She had learned their languages, their customs, their weaknesses. If anyone could find a way out of this, it was her. He thought about President Tae-hyun Choi, sitting in his office in Seoul right now, waiting for news from this meeting. The president was a strong man, but even he could not fight 7,000 alien ships with 20 Earth vessels. Hyun-woo straightened his tie and looked directly at Velthari. He did not show fear or anger on his face. He looked calm and peaceful, just like the aliens wanted humans to be. "High Arbiter," he said in a clear voice. "Earth will provide our answer within the time you have given us." Velthari's 4 arms crossed in front of her body. "That is all? No arguments? No threats? No begging for mercy?" "We are not a species that makes quick decisions about important things," Hyun-woo said. 72 hours is not much time, but it is enough. You will have our answer." The other aliens whispered to each other in their strange languages. They seemed surprised that the human was not fighting back with words. They had expected him to be angry or scared. "Very well," Velthari said. "You may return to your ship. But remember, Ambassador, in 72 hours, with or without your agreement, humanity's time of freedom ends. We will save you from yourselves, whether you want it or not." Hyun-woo bowed his head slightly. It was a gesture of respect that the aliens understood. Then he turned and walked toward the door. His footsteps echoed in the giant room. As he walked, he could feel all those alien eyes watching him. They thought they had won. They thought they had broken the spirit of humanity with their threats and their fake evidence. They thought humans would surrender like frightened children. They had no idea how wrong they were. Outside the council chamber, Hyun-woo walked through long metal hallways back to the docking bay where his small transport ship waited. The hallways were full of aliens going about their daily business. None of them paid attention to the human walking among them. When he reached his ship, Hyun-woo looked back at the station one more time. It really was an amazing thing. The aliens had built something that could house millions of beings from hundreds of worlds. They had created technology that could travel faster than light. They had formed a government that spanned the entire galaxy. But for all their intelligence and technology, they had made one terrible mistake. They had looked at humanity and seen only what they wanted to see. They had seen the violence and the wars and the competition. They had seen the things that made them afraid. They had not seen the things that made humans dangerous. The elevator moved down through the earth like a metal bullet. Hyun-woo stood inside it with his hands behind his back. The walls around him were smooth and clean. Red numbers on a small screen showed how deep they were going. 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters. The elevator finally stopped at 3,000 meters below the city of Seoul. When the doors opened, Hyun-woo stepped into a world that most humans did not know existed. The Earth Command bunker was huge. The ceiling was so high that clouds formed near the top. Thousands of people worked at desks and computers. Giant screens covered the walls, showing maps of Earth and space around it. The air hummed with the sound of machines and voices. President Tae-hyun Choi was waiting for him. The president was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. But today his eyes looked worried. He wore a simple black suit, not the fancy clothes he wore when meeting otherworld leaders. "How bad is it?" "President," Choi asked as they walked through the bunker. "As bad as we expected," Hyun-woo said. "They want complete surrender in 72 hours. All our ships, all our weapons, all our freedom." They walked past rooms full of people working at computers. In one room, Hyun-woo saw Captain So-jin, Park talking to other military officers. She had arrived back on Earth 30 minutes ago. Her brown hair was still messy from wearing a space helmet. Her uniform had sweat stains from the stress of watching the council meeting. "Captain Park," President Choi called out, "please join us." So-jin walked over to them. She looked tired but alert. "Mr. President, Ambassador Kim, I watched the whole meeting. Those alien bastards think they have us trapped." "Language, Captain," the president said with a small smile. "Sorry, sir, but they do think they have us trapped. 7,000 ships against our 20. They think the math is simple." They walked into a large conference room. Around a long table sat the most important people in Earth's government and military. Hyun-woo recognized most of them. General Park Min-soo, the head of Earth's armies. Admiral Kim Soo-jin, who commanded the space fleet. Director Lee Young-ho, who ran Earth's intelligence service. But the person Hyun-woo was most happy to see was Dr. Mi-young Lee. She sat at the far end of the table with papers and computer tablets spread out in front of her. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore thick glasses that made her eyes look bigger. When she saw Hyun-woo, she smiled and nodded. Dr. Lee was not like the other people in the room. She was not a soldier or a politician. She was a scientist who studied alien life and behavior. For the past 15 years, she had been Earth's leading expert on the species that made up the Galactic Council. "Dr. Lee," President Choi said as they sat down, "please tell us what you have learned." Dr. Lee stood up and touched a button on the table. The lights in the room became darker. A big screen appeared on the wall showing pictures of different alien species. "I have been studying our galactic neighbors for 15 years, she said. "Every species that comes to Earth I watch. I learn their languages. I study their behavior. I understand their fears." The screen showed High Arbiter Velthari and her people, the Nexari. The Nexari evolved from insects on a world with very little food. They learned to work together to survive. But they are afraid of chaos. They need everything to be organized and controlled. When they see humans arguing and fighting, it scares them. The screen changed to show the tree-like aliens. The Vestan evolved from plants. They lived for thousands of years in one place before they learned to move. They are afraid of quick changes. Human technology and culture change too fast for them to understand. The Zorfians, Dr. Lee continued, showing the blue furry aliens with 6 legs, come from a world where the strongest always ruled. But they learn to control their violent instincts through meditation and philosophy. They think humans are like their ancient ancestors, too primitive to control themselves. Around the table, the military officers and politicians listened carefully. Some took notes. Others just stared at the screen. "Each species in the Galactic Council has one thing in common," Dr. Lee said. "They are afraid of uncertainty. They want to predict and control everything. Humans are the only species that actually enjoys uncertainty. We like surprises. We like competition. We like solving new problems. So they see us as a threat," Admiral Kim said. "Exactly. But their fear makes them weak. They cannot adapt quickly to new situations. They follow the same patterns over and over." Dr. Lee touched another button. The screen now showed something that made everyone in the room lean forward. It was a map of the galaxy with thousands of small red dots scattered across it. "For the past 50 years, while they have been studying us, We have been studying them. Every human merchant ship, every trade mission, every diplomatic visit. We have been gathering information. Commander Jinho Nam stood up from his chair. He was a short, strong man with scars on his hands from years of military service. He ran Earth's Special Operations Forces, the soldiers who did the jobs that regular armies could not do. "Show them Project Wildfire," Commander Nam said. Dr. Lee nodded and touched the screen. The red dots began to pulse like heartbeats. Every red dot is a human presence in alien space. The Council thinks these are just innocent traders and diplomats. They are wrong. The room became very quiet. Even President Choi looked surprised. "How many?" Admiral Kim asked. 3,000 ships, 50,000 people, all volunteers, all trained, all waiting. Captain Sojin whistled softly. 3,000 ships. How did we hide them? Commander Nam smiled. We did not hide them. We put them in plain sight. The aliens see what they expect to see. They expect humans to be primitive and harmless. So our warships look like cargo haulers. Our soldiers look like merchants. Our weapons look like mining tools. Dr. Lee showed more pictures on the screen. What looked like a simple cargo ship split open to reveal advanced weapons inside. What looked like a peaceful mining station turned out to be a military base. The aliens use very advanced sensors, Dr. Lee explained. But they look for advanced technology. Our ships use simple materials on the outside, steel instead of exotic metals, chemical rockets instead of advanced engines. The aliens scan them and see primitive human technology. They do not look deeper. It is like hiding a sword inside a walking stick, Commander Nam added. The enemy sees an old man with a cane. They do not see the weapon until it is too late. General, Park spoke up for the first time. What about their military advantage? 7,000 ships is still 7,000 ships. Dr. Lee smiled. General, how many ships do you think are really at their homeworlds right now? I do not know. I do. Because our people have been watching and counting for 50 years. Most of their fleet is here, threatening Earth. Their homeworlds are protected by maybe 200 or 300 ships each. And those ships are expecting to fight other aliens who fight the same way they do. She showed another image on the screen. It was a battle between alien ships. The vessels moved in perfect formation, firing energy weapons in careful patterns. Everything was organized and predictable. They fight like they live, Dr. Lee said. Everything planned, everything controlled. They cannot handle chaos. President Choi leaned back in his chair. Are you telling me that we can actually win this? Mr. President, Commander Nam said, we are not just telling you we can win. We are telling you we have already won. The aliens just do not know it yet. Dr. Lee showed one more image. It was Wu Jin Yang, a man that Hyun-woo recognized. Yang was supposed to be a simple cargo ship captain who carried goods between human and alien worlds. He had been doing this job for 10 years. Captain Yang is currently 3 light hours away from the Nexari homeworld, Dr. Lee said. His ship, the Busan Runner, looks like it is carrying rice and electronics to alien markets. In reality, it is carrying enough firepower to destroy their orbital defense platforms. There are dozens of ships like his near every major alien world, Commander Nam added. The aliens have been so worried about the 20 military ships they can see, they never noticed the 3,000 ships they could not see. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then President Choi spoke. How long have you been planning this? Since the day we first met the aliens, Dr. Lee said. We knew this moment would come. We knew they would eventually try to control us. So we prepared. But sir, Captain Sojin said, even with all this, we are still talking about war with the entire galaxy. Millions of people will die. Dr. Lee shook her head. Captain, you are thinking like a human. You think war means long battles and many deaths. But aliens do not think like humans. When they realize they have been outmaneuvered, when they see that their perfect plans have failed, they will surrender quickly. Their psychology cannot handle this kind of surprise. Commander Nam pulled out a small device and set it on the table. This is a communicator that uses quantum entanglement. The aliens do not have this technology yet. They cannot detect it or stop it. When we give the signal, every one of our hidden ships will know instantly. And what signal will that be? President Choi asked. Hyun-woo spoke for the first time since entering the room. The signal will be my response to the Galactic Council. When I tell them Earth's answer, that will be the beginning of the end for their perfect galaxy. Dr. Lee sat back down and gathered her papers. Mr. President, the Wu Jin Yang floated in zero gravity inside his ship, the Busan Runner. Through the small window next to his pilot's seat, he could see the Nexari homeworld spinning slowly below him. The planet looked peaceful from up here. Blue oceans and green. Continents covered its surface. White clouds swirled in pretty patterns, but Wu Jin knew that looks could lie. Down on that planet lived billions of Nexari. They were the leaders of the Galactic Council. They were the ones who had decided that humans were too dangerous to be free. His ship looked old and dirty from the outside. The hull was covered with rust stains and dents. Radiation warning stickers were stuck all over it in different alien languages. To anyone watching, it looked like just another human cargo ship carrying goods between the stars. The aliens who controlled the space around their homeworld had scanned his ship 3 times in the past day. Each time, their scanners showed exactly what Wu Jin wanted them to see: rice from Earth's farms, electronic devices from human factories, art and music from human cultures. Nothing dangerous, nothing military. They never looked deep enough to see the truth. Wu Jin had been playing this role for 10 years now. Every few months, he would fly to different alien worlds and trade human goods for alien technology. The aliens thought he was just a simple businessman trying to make money. They liked him because he was always polite and never caused trouble. None of them knew that he had been a major in the Earth Defense Force before becoming a traitor. None of them knew that his cargo hold was full of weapons designed to look like farming equipment. None of them knew that he could take apart his ship and rebuild it into a warship in less than 6 hours. A soft beeping sound came from his communication system. Wu Jin pushed himself over to the control panel and checked the message. It was the signal he had been waiting 10 years to receive. The message was short and simple, just 2 words in Korean. Wildfire. Wu Jin felt his heart start beating faster. After all these years of pretending to be a peaceful trader, it was finally time to show the aliens what humans could really do. He pressed a button on his control panel. "Computer, begin transformation sequence." The ship began to change around him. Walls that looked like they were made of cheap metal slid apart to reveal advanced armor underneath. Fake cargo containers opened up to show missile launchers and energy weapons. The simple chemical rocket engine shut down and was replaced by a fusion drive that could push the ship at incredible speeds. In 30 minutes, the Busan Runner had become the most dangerous ship in the Nexari system. But Wu Jin was not the only one changing. All across the galaxy, 3,000 other human ships were doing the same thing. Ships that had been carrying cargo for years suddenly revealed their true nature. Miners became soldiers, traders became warships, diplomats became commandos. Lieutenant Yunji Kang was floating near the edge of the Zorfian system when she got the signal. Her ship, the Incheon Dawn, looked like a simple passenger transport. For 5 years, she had been carrying human tourists to alien worlds and bringing alien visitors to Earth. The Zorfians trusted her completely. She had a permit to travel anywhere in their space. She knew the locations of all their military bases and defense platforms. She had even had dinner with some of their naval officers. When the wildfire signal came, Yunji immediately began preparing her ship for combat. Her 20 passengers were actually Special Forces soldiers who had been training for this moment. For years, her cargo hold was full of advanced weapons and armor. "All right, people," she announced over the ship's communication system. "This is what we trained for. Remember, we hit fast and we hit hard. The aliens will not know what happened until it is over." Her ship turned toward the largest Zorfian military base in the system. According to her intelligence reports, it had enough weapons to destroy a small fleet. But those weapons were designed to fight other aliens who followed predictable battle tactics. They were not designed to fight humans who did not follow any rules at all. Sergeant Dongmin Seo was underground when he got the signal. For 3 years, he had been living on a planet that the aliens thought was empty. The Galactic Council had surveyed this world and decided it had no value, no rare metals, no useful plants, no intelligent life. They were right about the metals and plants, but they were very wrong about the intelligent life. Hidden in caves beneath the planet's surface, 500 human soldiers had been living and waiting. They had built a complete military base using materials that the aliens would never think to look for. Their weapons were made from rocks and metals that looked completely natural. When the signal came, Dongmin and his soldiers began moving to the surface. Above them was a Galactic Council communication relay station. It was one of the most important installations in this part of the galaxy. All military messages between alien fleets passed through it. In 1 hour, that station would be in human hands. Back at the Nexari homeworld, Wu Jin was ready to begin the attack. His ship had moved close to the planet's orbital defense grid. The aliens still thought he was just a harmless traitor. Their defense platforms had not even powered up their weapons. That was about to change. "Computer, target the defense platforms," Wu Jin said. "Begin attack pattern Alpha." "Warning," the computer replied in a calm voice. "Attack will reveal our true nature to alien forces. Once we begin, there will be no going back." "I understand. Begin attack." The Busan runner opened fire. Beams of pure energy shot out from hidden weapons and struck the nearest defense platform. The alien structure exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Immediately, alarms began sounding all across the Nexari system. The aliens had no idea what was happening. Their sensors showed that the attack had come from a simple human cargo ship, but no cargo ship should have weapons that powerful. More defense platforms began firing back at Wu Jin's ship, but he was already moving, using the speed and agility that his real engines gave him. The alien weapons could not track him fast enough. One by one, the orbital defense platforms died. Each explosion lit up the space around the planet like a small sun. On the planet's surface, Nexari military commanders tried to understand what was happening. Their communication systems were full of confused reports. A human cargo ship was destroying their most advanced defenses. It was impossible, but it was happening. High Admiral Kethvar of the Nexari fleet stared at the tactical display in his command center. Red dots showed where his defense platforms had been. Now they were just empty space and floating debris. "How is this possible?" he asked his staff. "Our intelligence reports said that human ships were primitive. They use chemical rockets and metal hulls. They should not be able to penetrate our shields." "Sir," one of his officers said, "the attacking ship appears to be using technology we have never seen before. Its weapons are more advanced than anything in our databases." "Are there other human ships in the system?" "No, sir. Our sensors show only the one vessel, but—" The officer paused and looked confused. "Sir, the ship's configuration does not match any known human design. It is as if it transformed from a cargo ship into a warship." Admiral Kethvar felt something cold move through his body. Fear. It had been many years since he had felt fear. "Send a message to the Galactic Council fleet near Earth," he ordered. "Tell them that humans may have military capabilities we did not know about." But when his communication officer tried to send the message, nothing happened. The communication relay stations that connected different parts of the galaxy were not responding. What Admiral Kethvar did not know was that Sergeant Dongmin Seo and his soldiers had just taken control of the relay station in their sector. Similar attacks were happening at relay stations across the galaxy. The aliens were losing their ability to coordinate their forces. Lieutenant Yunji Kong's attack on the Zorfian base was going perfectly. Her ship had appeared out of nowhere and destroyed 3 defense platforms before the aliens even knew they were under attack. Her soldiers had landed on the base and were fighting their way to the command center. The Zorfian defenders were brave, but they were not ready for human tactics. They tried to form organized battle lines and fight according to their military training. The humans ignored their formations and attacked from unexpected directions. "Command center secured," one of Yunji's soldiers reported over the radio. "All alien personnel have surrendered." "Good work," Yunji replied. "Download all their tactical data and destroy their weapons. We move to the next target in 30 minutes. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out at dozens of alien military installations. Human ships that had been hiding in plain sight for years suddenly revealed their true nature. Human soldiers who had been pretending to be traders and tourists began capturing key strategic points. The aliens had spent 72 hours preparing to destroy Earth's 20 military ships. They had never imagined that Earth had 3,000 ships scattered across their space. Back on Earth, Dr. Mi-Young Lee watched the attacks unfold on a giant screen in the command bunker. Each successful strike was marked with a green dot on a map of the galaxy. So far, every attack was going according to plan. Phase 1 is complete, she reported to President Choi. All primary targets have been eliminated or captured. The aliens have lost their ability to coordinate their fleets. Casualty. High Arbiter Velthari stood in the command center of her massive flagship, the Nexari Pride. Around her, dozens of officers worked at glowing control panels. The air was filled with the sound of alien voices speaking in urgent tones. Emergency. Lights flashed red and blue across the walls. For the first time in her long life, Velthari was afraid. "Report!" she commanded, her four arms crossed tightly across her chest. Commander Zeknal, her chief of staff, approached with a data tablet in his clawed hands. His green skin was darker than usual, which meant he was stressed. "High Arbiter, we have lost contact with 70% of our communication relay stations. Our home fleet reports that they are under attack by unknown human vessels." "Unknown human vessels?" Velthari's voice rose to a screech. "There are only 20 human ships, and they are all here with us." "That is what we believed, High Arbiter. But it appears we were wrong." On the main screen at the front of the command center, a tactical map showed the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations where Galactic Council forces were under attack. There were dozens of them, spread across hundreds of light years. "How many ships?" Velthari demanded. "We do not know. Our intelligence estimates suggest at least 1,000, possibly more. They appeared simultaneously across the galaxy and began attacking our installations." Velthari felt her legs become weak. She grabbed the edge of a control panel to keep from falling. 1,000 human ships? Where had they come from? How had the Council's intelligence services missed them? "What kind of ships?" she asked. Commander Zeknal looked even more stressed. "That is the strange part, High Arbiter. Our surviving commanders report that the attacking vessels appear to be converted cargo ships and passenger transports. But they are armed with weapons more advanced than anything in our databases." "Converted cargo ships?" Velthari could not believe what she was hearing. "You are telling me that human traders and tourists have been warships in disguise?" "It appears so, High Arbiter." Velthari turned to look at the 20 Earth Defense Force ships floating in space nearby. They looked so small and harmless compared to the 7,000 vessels of the Galactic Council fleet. But now she wondered what else the humans had been hiding. "Get me a communication link to Earth," she ordered. "I want to speak to their president immediately." "High Arbiter," another officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from Admiral Hyejin Ryu of the Earth Fleet. Put it on the main screen." The tactical map disappeared and was replaced by the image of a human woman in a blue military uniform. She had short black hair and calm dark eyes. She sat in what looked like the bridge of a spaceship, but Velthari could not see the ship's design clearly. "High Arbiter Velthari," Admiral Ryu said in perfect Nexari language. "I am Admiral Hyejin Ryu, commander of Earth's Hidden Fleet. I believe you wanted to discuss our response to your ultimatum." Velthari stared at the human woman. "Hidden Fleet? What hidden fleet?" Admiral Ryu smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "The fleet that has been operating in your space for the past 50 years. The 3,000 ships that your intelligence services classified as harmless civilian vessels. The ships that are currently in the process of dismantling your military infrastructure." "Impossible," Velthari said. "Our sensors would have detected military vessels." "Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect," Admiral Ryu replied. "You see, High Arbiter, humans have a saying. The best place to hide something is in plain sight. Your people are very intelligent, but you see only what you expect to see." On the screen behind Admiral Ryu, Velthari could see other humans working at control stations. They all looked calm and professional, as if attacking the most powerful military force in the galaxy was just another day at work. "You cannot defeat the entire Galactic Council," Velthari said, but her voice sounded less certain than before. "We are not trying to defeat you," Admiral Ryu said. "We are trying to educate you. For 50 years, you have been preparing to fight the humans you thought you knew. You studied our history and saw primitive savages who fight with crude weapons and simple tactics. Admiral Ryu stood up from her chair and walked closer to the camera. But you never studied the most important thing about humans. We learn. We adapt. We plan ahead. While you were watching our 20 military ships, we were building 3,000 others. While you were analyzing our past wars, we were preparing for our future ones. Velthari felt something she had never experienced before. Helplessness. The careful plans of the Galactic Council were falling apart, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. "What do you want?" she asked. "Right now, we want you to listen," Admiral Ryu said. "In 10 minutes, you are going to receive reports from every major system in the galaxy. Those reports will tell you that your military bases are being captured, your communication networks are being controlled, and your fleets are being isolated." As if on cue, Commander Zeknal approached Velthari with another data tablet. His expression was grim. "High Arbiter, incoming reports from the Zorfian, Veldan, and Corvani systems. All report human attacks on military installations. Estimated losses are substantial." Velthari looked at the numbers on the tablet and felt her world collapse around her. In less than 6 hours, humans had inflicted more damage on the Galactic Council than had been done in the past century of peace. "How?" she whispered. Admiral Ryu heard the question. "Because you made the same mistake that every powerful empire makes, High Arbiter. You assumed that your enemies would fight the way you fight. You prepared for an honorable battle between organized fleets using established tactics." The Admiral's smile became colder. "But humans do not fight honorably. We fight to win. We use deception, surprise, and psychological warfare. We hit you where you are weakest and when you least expect it." More reports were coming into the command center. Velthari could hear her officers talking in panicked voices. Words like surrounded, captured, and destroyed filled the air. "This is why your species frightens the galaxy," Admiral Ryu continued. "Not because you are violent. Violence is common in the universe. You frighten them because you are unpredictable. You do not follow the rules that other species follow." Engineer Kyung-Soo Han appeared on the screen next to Admiral Ryu. He was a small man with graying hair and kind eyes. Velthari recognized him. He had been working as a technical consultant for the Galactic Council for 8 years. He had helped design some of their most advanced computer systems. "Hello, High Arbiter," Kyung-Soo said politely. "I wanted to thank you for allowing me to work on your computer networks for so many years. The access you gave me has been very helpful." Velthari felt her blood turn cold. You sabotaged our systems?" "Sabotaged is such an ugly word," Kyung-Soo said. "I prefer to think of it as installing useful features. Backdoors that allow us to access your networks when needed. Control programs that let us shut down your weapons at the right moment. Monitoring software that tells us everything your commanders are planning." "For 8 years?" Velthari could barely speak. "For 8 years. And I am not the only one. Humans have been working inside your organization since first contact. We have been your consultants, your trade partners, your cultural exchanges. You welcomed us into your most secure facilities because you thought we were too primitive to be a threat." Commander Zeknal ran up to Velthari with terror in his eyes. "High Arbiter, our weapon systems are not responding. We cannot fire our main guns." Kyung-Soo nodded on the screen. "That would be one of my useful features. Your ships can still move and defend themselves, but they cannot attack. I thought it would be safer that way." Velthari realized that the 7,000 ships of the Galactic Council fleet were now helpless. They could not attack Earth, and they could not return home because human forces controlled the space lanes. "What happens now?" Velthari asked. Admiral Ryu's expression became more serious. "Now you have a choice, High Arbiter. You can continue this conflict and watch as your entire civilization is systematically dismantled by forces you never saw coming. Or you can accept that humanity is not the species you thought we were." "You would destroy entire worlds?" Velthari asked in horror. "We would not have to," Admiral Ryu replied. "Your own people will surrender when they realize their situation. You see, High Arbiter, the difference between humans and other species is not that we are more violent. It is that we understand violence better. We know when to use it and when not to use it." On the screens around the command center, more reports were coming in. But these reports were different. Instead of describing attacks and destruction, they described surrender. Alien commanders were giving up when they realized they could not win. "Your people are intelligent," Admiral Ryu said. "When they see that resistance is futile, they choose to live rather than die for pride. This is actually a sign of wisdom, not weakness." Velthari looked around her command center. Her officers were staring at their control panels in confusion and fear. The weapons they had trained with for years would not respond. The communication networks they depended on were controlled by humans. The military doctrine they had studied was useless against an enemy that ignored all the rules. "Humans do not want to rule the galaxy," Admiral Ryu said. "We do not want to destroy other species or take their worlds. Colonel Jae-Sung Moon floated in his combat suit outside the massive hull of Galactic Council Station Omega-7. Through his helmet's display, he could see the Earth assault team moving along the station's outer surface like metal spiders. Each soldier carried special tools designed to cut through alien armor without triggering security systems. For 20 years, Jae-Sung had been preparing for this moment. He had studied every blueprint of the station that human engineers had secretly obtained. He knew where every security camera was located. He knew which air vents led to the command centers. He knew which walls were weak enough to break through quietly. The station was so large that it had its own gravity generators and atmosphere processors. Millions of aliens lived and worked inside it. Most of them had no idea that human soldiers were cutting their way through the outer hull. "Breach Point 7 is ready," came a voice through his helmet radio. It was Lieutenant Park Subin, one of his best demolition experts. "Charges are placed and ready to detonate." "All teams report," Jae-Sung said into his radio. One by one, the other team leaders confirmed that they were in position. 30 soldiers were scattered across different parts of the station. Each team had a specific target: the main computer core, the communication center, the power generators, and the command bridge. "Remember," Jae-Sung told his soldiers, "we are not here to hurt innocent people. We are here to take control of the B station and show the aliens that nowhere is safe from human reach. Use minimum force. Capture, do not kill." "Yes, sir," came the replies from 30 different voices. Jae-Sung looked through his helmet at the stars around them. Somewhere out there, Admiral Hyejin Ryu was negotiating with High Arbiter Velthari, but negotiations worked better when both sides knew exactly how much power the other side had. "All teams, begin breach in 10 seconds, Jae-Sung ordered. Small explosions bloomed silently along the station's hull. The alien metal tore apart like paper, creating openings just large enough for humans in combat suits to squeeze through. Jae-Sung pulled himself through his breach point and found himself in a maintenance corridor inside the station. Artificial gravity immediately grabbed him and pulled him down to the floor. His suit's systems automatically adjusted to the station's atmosphere and pressure. The corridor was empty, just as the intelligence reports had predicted. Most aliens avoided the maintenance areas because they were dark and cramped. But humans were used to working in small, uncomfortable spaces. He moved quickly through the corridors, following a route he had memorized years ago. Behind him, 2 other soldiers followed silently. Their boots made no sound on the metal floor. They reached the first checkpoint without being seen. Through a small window, Jae-Sung could see 2 alien guards sitting at a security desk. They were Veldan, the tree-like species that moved very slowly. They were reading something on their computer screens and drinking steaming cups of liquid. Jae-Sung pulled out a small device and attached it to the wall next to the security door. The device sent a signal that made the door's lock think it was receiving a proper authorization code. The door slid open silently. The 2 guards looked up in surprise as 3 humans in combat suits stepped into their security station. Before they could reach for their weapons or sound an alarm, Jae-Sung was already pointing a stunner at them. "Do not move," he said in perfect Veldan language. "We do not want to hurt you, but we will if necessary." The guards raised their branch-like arms in surrender. Their large eyes showed fear and confusion. They had probably never seen a human in combat gear before. "Sit on the floor and do not make any noise," Jae-Sung ordered. "This will be over soon." While his soldiers watched the guards, Jae-Sung accessed the security computer. His fingers moved quickly across the alien keyboard, typing commands that Kyung-Soo Han had taught him years ago. Within minutes, he had disabled the security systems for the entire sector. Team Alpha is through the first checkpoint, he reported to his radio. Security grid is down. Similar reports came from the other teams. The aliens had built their station to be secure against attacks from other alien species. They had never considered that someone might attack from the inside using their own security systems against them. Jae-sung and his team moved deeper into the station. They passed through areas where aliens were going about their daily lives. Office workers sat at desks, processing data and sending messages. Shopkeepers sold food and goods to customers. Children from different species played games in recreation areas. None of them knew that their station was being taken over by humans. The team reached the main command center without firing a single shot. Through the windows of the center, Jae-sung could see dozens of alien officers working at control stations. In the middle of the room, a tall platform held the command chair where the station commander sat. The commander was a Corvani, one of the insect-like species that had 6 arms and compound eyes. He was talking to someone on a communication screen, gesturing with his arms in the excited way that Corvani did when they were stressed. "Remember, we want them alive and unharmed," Jae-sung reminded his soldiers. "These are not our enemies. They are just people doing their jobs." The team placed small charges on the door to the command center. When the charges went off, the door would be destroyed, but the explosion would not hurt anyone inside. "All teams, report status," Jae-sung said into his radio. "Team Beta is in position at the computer core," came Lieutenant Kim Young-soo's voice. "Team Gamma has the communication center surrounded," reported Sergeant Yoon Hae-rin. "Team Delta is ready at the power generators," said Corporal Cho Min-kyu. Jae-sung took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. When these doors blew open, the aliens would know that humans could reach them anywhere, even in their most secure facilities. "All teams, execute in 3, 2, 1, mark." The doors to the command center exploded inward with a flash of light and a blast of sound. Jae-sung and his soldiers rushed through the smoke and chaos into the room full of shocked aliens. "Nobody move!" Jae-sung shouted in Galactic Standard language. "This facility is now under human control." The alien officers froze at their stations. Some reached for weapons, but stopped when they saw the humans pointing advanced stunners at them. The weapons were clearly more advanced than anything the aliens had seen before. The station commander stood up from his chair, his 6 arms shaking with anger and fear. "This is an act of war," he clicked in his insect-like voice. "You cannot attack a peaceful space station." "Commander Click-Tal," Jae-sung said, reading the alien's name from his uniform. "We are not attacking your station. We are securing it. There is a difference. Securing it? For what purpose?" "To show the Galactic Council that humanity cannot be contained," Jae-sung replied. "Your leaders thought that humans were too primitive to threaten their power. They were wrong." Around the command center, human soldiers were taking control of the various stations. They worked efficiently and professionally, like they had been trained for this exact scenario, which, Jae-sung reflected, they had been. "You cannot operate our technology," Commander Click-Tal said. "Your species lacks the knowledge." Lieutenant Park Soo-bin looked up from a control station where she was working. "Actually, Commander, your technology is not that different from ours. We have been studying it for 50 years. She pressed a few buttons, and the main display screen changed to show a tactical view of the space around the station. The 7,000 ships of the Galactic Council fleet were visible, but now there were also other ships that had not been there before. Human ships, dozens of them, appearing from empty space where they had been hiding behind advanced stealth technology. "Impossible," Commander Click-Tal whispered. "Our sensors showed only 20 human vessels." "Your sensors showed what we wanted them to show," Jae-sung said. "Commander, I want you to send a message to all alien personnel on this station. Tell them that they are safe, but that this facility is now under human administration until further notice." The commander's compound eyes reflected the lights from the control panels. "And if I refuse?" Jae-sung walked over to one of the control stations and began typing commands. The station's lights dimmed for a moment, then returned to normal. The gravity fluctuated briefly. The air circulation system made a strange humming sound. "Commander," Jae-sung said calmly, "we control your life support systems. your power grid, your communications, and your security. We can turn this station into a very uncomfortable place to live if we need to, but we would prefer not to." Commander Clicktow looked around at his officers. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders. But what orders could he give? The humans had taken control of everything important in less than an hour. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "We want you to contact High Arbiter Velthari and tell her that Station Omega-7 is under human control," Jae-sung said. "Tell her that every alien on this station is safe and will remain safe as long as there is no resistance." And then, we wait for the new negotiations to begin. On the main screen, more human ships continued to appear. They came from directions the aliens had never expected. Some emerged from behind asteroids where they had been hiding for years. Others dropped their stealth fields and revealed themselves in empty space. The aliens had been so focused on the 26 months had passed since the day the galaxy learned what humans were really capable of. The new council chambers floated in space near Earth's moon, built by human engineers using materials and designs from dozens of different alien species. The building looked like a work of art, with curved walls that caught the light from Earth's sun and made it dance in beautiful patterns. Former High Arbiter Velthari walked through the corridors of the new station with slow, careful steps. Her 4 arms hung at her sides, and her green skin had lost some of its shine. She was no longer the leader of the galaxy. Now she was just another representative, sitting in the back rows of the council chambers while humans made the important decisions. It was humbling. It was also, she had to admit, probably fair. The corridors were full of beings from across the galaxy. Humans walked alongside aliens of every shape and size. Children from different species played together in recreation areas. Traders and diplomats conducted business in languages that mixed human words with alien concepts. 6 months ago, this would have been impossible. The different species had been too suspicious of each other, too set in their old ways. But the humans had changed all of that by force, and now something new was growing. Velthari entered the main council chamber and took her seat in the 3rd row. Around her, representatives from hundreds of worlds prepared for the morning session. At the front of the chamber, President Tae-hyun Choi sat in the mediator's chair, reviewing documents on a tablet. The president looked older than he had 6 months ago. Leading a galaxy was harder than leading just one world, but he also looked satisfied, like a teacher whose students were finally learning important lessons. "The session will come to order," President Choi announced in Galactic Standard. His voice was translated into dozens of languages by small devices that each representative wore. The chamber became quiet. Even species that usually made noise when they were thinking remained silent out of respect. "Today, we will discuss the petition from the Thylar system," the president continued. "They are requesting protection from raiders who have been attacking their trade ships." A representative from the Thylar stood up. She was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. "President Choi, honored representatives, our people have suffered 12 attacks in the past month. Our security forces are not strong enough to stop the raiders." "Thank you, Representative Siltha," President Choi said. "Captain Sojin Park will present the military response options." Captain Sojin stood up from her seat in the front row. She now commanded a joint fleet with officers and ships from many different species. Her uniform was still Earth Defense Force blue, but it carried insignia from alien militaries as well. "The raiders appear to be using modified cargo ships with illegal weapons," she reported. "They strike quickly and then disappear into asteroid fields where larger ships cannot follow. My recommendation is to deploy a joint patrol fleet with fast interceptor vessels." "What species would provide these vessels?" asked a representative from the Corvani worlds. "The Nexari have excellent interceptor designs," Captain Sojin replied. "The Zorfians have the best pilots for this type of mission, and humans can provide the tactical coordination. Working together, we can stop these raids within 2 weeks." Velthari listened to the discussion with mixed feelings. The old Galactic Council would have spent months debating this issue. They would have formed committees to study the problem, then committees to study what the first committees had decided. By the time they acted, the Thylar system might have been completely destroyed. But under human leadership, decisions were made quickly and efficiently. The different species were learning to combine their strengths instead of arguing about their differences. The motion is approved, President Choi announced after a brief vote. Captain Park, coordinate with the Nexari and Zorfian representatives to begin deployment immediately. As the session continued, Velthari thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, she had been the most powerful being in the galaxy. She had commanded 7,000 ships and ruled over trillions of people. She had believed that order and control were the only ways to maintain peace. Now she watched humans manage the galaxy with a combination of strength and flexibility that she had never imagined possible. They made decisions quickly when action was needed, but they also listened carefully to different viewpoints. They were willing to use force when necessary, but they preferred negotiation and compromise. Most importantly, they did not try to control every detail of how other species lived their lives. The humans had taken over the galaxy's military and government, but they left local cultures and customs alone. Each world could still decide its own laws and traditions, as long as they did not hurt their neighbors. After the formal session ended, Velthari made her way to the observation deck. Through the large windows, she could see Earth hanging in space like a blue and white jewel. Around it, ships from dozens of species moved in careful patterns, carrying trade goods and passengers between the worlds. Dr. Mi-Young Lee was already on the observation deck, standing near one of the windows with a cup of tea in her hands. The human scientist had become the head of the new Xenological Institute, which studied how different species could work together more effectively. "Good morning, High Arbiter," Dr. Lee said politely. "How are you feeling today?" "Please, Dr. Lee," Velthari replied. "I am no longer High Arbiter. You may call me Velthari." "Old habits," Dr. Lee said with a smile. "I am still getting used to the new order myself." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the ships move around Earth. Some of the vessels were clearly human designs, with angular hulls and bright engine exhausts. Others showed the curved elegance of Nexari engineering or the organic shapes favored by the Veldan. "Do you regret it?" Dr. Lee asked quietly. "The way things ended?" Velthari considered the question carefully. "I regret that it was necessary," she said finally. "I regret that we could not find a peaceful solution, but I do not regret the results." "The results? Look around you, Dr. Lee. 6 months ago, the different species of this galaxy barely tolerated each other. We maintained peace through fear and rigid control. Now they are working together, learning from each other, building something new." Dr. Lee nodded. "It was not the way any of us wanted it to happen, but sometimes change requires a shock to the system." "Your species certainly provided that shock," Velthari said. "We thought we understood humans. We thought you were primitive and chaotic. We never realized that chaos could be a strength." On the observation deck, other beings had gathered to watch the view. Velthari saw a group of young aliens from different species standing together and talking excitedly. They were students at the new Galactic University that had been established on the station. "Those children will grow up in a very different galaxy than we did," Dr. Lee observed. "Yes," Velthari agreed. "They will learn that differences between species are not threats to be eliminated, but resources to be valued. They will understand that cooperation is stronger than control." One of the students, a young Nexari with bright green skin, noticed them watching and waved enthusiastically. Dr. Lee waved back and smiled. "Your people have given us a great gift," Velthari said. "You have shown us that there is more than one way to maintain peace. Order and control are not the only options." "What we have given you," Dr. Lee replied, "is the same thing you have given us. A chance to learn and grow. Humans are not perfect, Velthari. We make mistakes. We sometimes let our emotions guide us instead of our logic. But we learn from our errors and try to do better." Through the window, they could see a new ship approaching the station. It was a Corvani design, but it carried human crew members alongside the insect-like aliens. Mixed crews were becoming common as the different species learned to work together. "Dr. Lee," Velthari said, "may I ask you something that has been bothering me?" "Of course. When you were studying us all those years, when you were preparing for the conflict, did you hate us? Did you see us as enemies?" Dr. Lee was quiet for a long moment. "No," she said finally. "We saw you as people who were afraid. People who had found one way to solve the problems of governing a galaxy, but who could not imagine any other ways. You saw us as students who needed better teachers. In a way, yes. But we also knew that we needed to learn from you. Human methods work for humans, but they do not always work for other species. The new galaxy we are building together combines the best ideas from all of our cultures. Velthari looked around the observation deck at the mixed groups of beings talking and laughing together. I must admit, Dr. Lee, that this new system is more effective than our old one. Decisions are made faster, problems are solved more creatively. There is less fear and more hope. There is also more uncertainty, Dr. Lee pointed out. Humans do not plan everything in advance the way your people did. We adapt and improvise. That can be frightening for species that prefer predictability. Yes, but uncertainty also brings opportunity. Under the old system, things rarely changed. There was peace, but it was the peace of stagnation. Now there is growth and progress and discovery. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim entered the observation deck and walked over to them. He looked much more relaxed than he had 6 months ago. The stress of those FINA